Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
Imagine that this line represents time. Present 1985. Future. Past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate to you, me, and Einstein. Look, reality for everyone else.
Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Jeremy. And tonight we have a return guest. We got Paul Vecchiet, who is back to talk about his second book. The first time we had him back in February, where he talked about his book, The Disclosure Paradox, which was a book that talked about, a lot of stuff. Mostly, well, I can't even say mostly, because it was really just a grab bag of a ton of shit. Be honest with you. If you were here to listen to the conversation that we had, you know that we touched a little bit on the alien disclosure, the Akashic records, out-of-body experiences. There was quite a bit that we jumped into. The conversation got pretty deep. We did have a little bit of technical difficulties, but it seems to be that has been fixed. So it looks like we got Paul all to ourselves tonight, and he is going to talk to us about the sequel to his book today. So if this conversation is anything like the last one, it's going to be crazy. So go ahead, Paul. Go ahead and give us the spiel about what we're in for tonight, and welcome back to Infinite Rabbit Hole.
Sure. We can go a little bit on the overview of the first novel. The reason that I write science fiction on these topics is to get people who otherwise would not read about these topics in nonfiction. There are so many books out there on UFOs and extraterrestrials and people with spiritual experiences. And there are many books out there about the Shroud. And the people that need to read that won't read it because they have certain biases or they have certain beliefs. So I try to attract those readers with science fiction. And that's what I did with the first book, and that's what I'm doing with the second book.
Now, the Shroud, you're talking about the Shroud of Turin?
Yes.
All right. So let's okay, so that's a completely different avenue than the first book.
Right. But, however, the link is about Dulce, for example, because my hypothesis about Dulce was that they were investigating our physiology, and they were testing our blood, and they were looking for DNA, stuff in our DNA. And the premise behind the novel is that they failed. They failed to find what they were looking for. I have a hypothesis about these malevolent beings. I've heard testimony that they do not know what love is. They can't even synthesize it. So what if they're looking for something in our DNA that makes us love? And why would they do that? Because the benevolent beings use love as a signature when they greet each other in distance, in space, in craft. In other words, they're telepathic. They don't use radio like we do. It's all with the mind. So the hypothesis is, what if the malevolent ones can actually synthesize love, use it as a way to fool the benevolent ones and then ambush them? And that's what the premise is behind the second book. They failed to find that out in our DNA in Dulce. And so they realize that there's another source for that kind of DNA, and that is in the Shroud of Turin, where you have Jesus's blood, and he's a hybrid. He's human and then part benevolent entity, and they want that to copy for their own, to weaponize over. So that's the link in the two books. DNA.
So take a step back there. Something that we really haven't dove into very much in this podcast as of yet is the allure of Dulce, New Mexico.
Right.
So I just want to take a step back there and kind of bring everybody in on the mystery behind that. So Dulce is, it's the weird of the weird, really. There's a lot of conspiracy or theories about what's going on there. Basically, it's tough to actually talk about where to start, right? The gist. Yep. Go ahead. You want to take that? Go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason I have that in there, just like all of the testimony I got from people that I've met over the years, I happen to have contact with a woman whose mother was CIA, and before this mother passed away, she gave her documents that she felt needed to be passed on and not destroyed, and they were documents about Dulce, New Mexico, and the autopsies of graves. So I used that information in my novel. I read those documents, and it's quite compelling. Obviously, coming from that source, I feel that there's some validation there. And the interesting thing about Dulce is it's on an Indian reservation, a Hickory Apache reservation. The natives there, the people that live there, and their lore actually has something about spiritual activity that they find either lights going up in the sky from this mesa, or sounds or something, and they attribute it to spirituality or to their origin. And since it is a very sacred area to them, they kind of act like bouncers, so they keep people away, and it's very convenient for who is really there, which is a reptilian race. And then later on, when we made a deal, well, not us, but the military industrial complex made a deal with them, they made an addition to that, so it's a joint reptilian and mercenary base. It's not as active as it was in the 70s when they were doing all the abductions, because things have died down, and I think it's probably because they're failing in trying to find out what they're looking for. But it's there.
You're muted, Jeremy.
Yeah, you were muted. Yeah.
Look at that. It's like I haven't done this before. There's a lot of stuff from way back But there's also a lot of recent stuff too. Everything from finding gray aliens in the caverns when they were digging, a deep underground military base. Whispers of secret Dulce base under Arcleva Mesa. They feel tons of wild conspiracies. Basically, picture a 7-story underground lab where the government and aliens allegedly craft human-alien hybrids. Right? This all kicked off in the 70s, basically with cattle mutilations. Right? There was a state trooper out there. I think his name was Gabe Valdez. Who was witnessing or being reported that there was tons of UFOs and cattle mutilations. And he started recognizing that a lot of these cows were sliced very cleanly, blood drained, odd fetuses were found. And then you had physicists like Paul Benowitz, who claimed that aliens were sending signals from there and to there. In the 90s, Phil Schneider said he fought gray aliens there. He lost fingers before he died in 1996. Locals reported strange lights and helicopters, right? The black copters, the stealth, silent H-60 Blackhawks, if you will. Some say a mountainside opens for a spacecraft. Skeptics call it a cover for military tests. Maybe linked to even nuclear projects in like the 60s. No proof of this exists, but Dulce UFO Conference, which is held, I think, annually, keeps everything alive because people flock there all the time. And this stuff continues to basically grow in the petri dish that is conspiracy. There's a lot of interesting stuff in Dulce, right? In fact, I mean, Dulce was around before the likes of like Skinwalker Ranch, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, there was stories of weird shit happening there back in the times of the natives. I mean, similar with Skinwalker Ranch, but the amount of information coming out of that area was much more prevalent than it was in the Uinta Basin, like in Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm-hmm. I got a question about that. Was Dulce one of the ones? You guys familiar with Phil Schneider?
Yeah, I just mentioned Phil Schneider.
Oh, sorry, I was reading something else. So he was one of the, apparently, right? He was one of the guys who was helping build Dulce back in the day, or his company.
He was definitely a part of Dulce. He was one of the guys that dug and came across those creatures on the ground, right?
Yeah, like apparently, he had a company that was assisting in a lot of those dumb constructions, and when they would dig down into the earth in these spots, because of course they put these bases in specific locations, right? That in at least one of them, if not more than one, they came across like underground caverns that were like already there with beings inside, and apparently and that's how his hand got all deformed, because apparently like they got into confrontation with some of these beings.
Dulce was the area where that happened.
That was okay. That's what I was wondering, if that was the spot. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I was reading something else when you were talking about that, so I didn't catch you talking about him. So.
So
now we're tracking.
Yep. I just wanted to make sure everyone was kind of on track of how important that place is, or how important that may be to your story. I don't know the story yet. I haven't had a chance to read the book. But when somebody mentions Dulce, it tends to be a highlighted place. So I just want to make sure, because we haven't really dove into the lore and everything behind Dulce here on Infinite Rabbit Hole yet. We really should, because it's absolutely fascinating. But I just wanted to take a second there and make sure people understood what you were implying with that.
Sure. Okay.
Jeff, did you have anything there, bud?
No. I mean, I'm curious to get into like some of the Shroud of Turin stuff, to be honest with you, because I have my own thoughts about that personally. But yeah, I'm stoked to get into that. So,
well, let's Paul.
Yeah.
What do you where do you want to take us next, man?
Well, all right. So the first book is almost like an autobiography, and there are a couple of things that I want people to take away from it. It's called the disclosure paradox because I feel that disclosure will lead to something that is not anticipated, which is the paradox. I feel that the reason that governments have been slow on disclosure is that they've been warned by entities that disclosure will lead to unacceptable events. And their concern, the entities are concerned, is that it would lead to contact, which will lead to a technological exchange. And because of the negative forces that are on this planet, greed, lack of ethics, that will combine to take that technology, weaponize it, and then we will use it against them. So that's what they're concerned about, and that's what the story really is in the disclosure paradox. That's why I call it that. There are a couple, I guess, tenets that I want the readers to understand. If we're talking spiritually, and that is that others have a greater impact on our lives than we have on ourselves, and that I do explain the concept of fate and destiny, and that it is real. Everyone has a role to play. Some are larger than others, and I think I feel that my role was actually talking about what I am talking about in the second book, which is getting people to learn more about the Shroud of Turin. So what happens in the second book is a conspiracy to steal the Shroud of Turin. It's a plan with an insider in the Vatican, and he teams up with a malevolent force. I call them the Archons. They are like demons, and they want to get a hold of the DNA. The thing about the relationship between the Archons and the Shroud is that even if you mention the name of Jesus, it terrifies them. So they can't even touch anything that Jesus has touched in reality. And that's why they needed a human to get that. So the book starts out with a murder in the Vatican. And the murder is of a war buddy from one of the heroes in book one. And that is the Ranger, a former Ranger, Robert Ladd. So that's how the book starts. And he goes to the Vatican and teams up with Interpol, with the U.S. Embassy. They help him out to get into the Vatican, to seek out who was responsible for the death of his friend. That's pretty much the beginning of the plot. But there's a very strong spiritual content in there. And so Robert Ladd starts out as an atheist, but because of what happens to him and his visions that he's get while he's in a coma because he's attacked with nerve agent, much like the nerve agent attack of the British in 2018 by the Russians, if you recall that. I kind of followed that, and I researched that, so I made sure I was doing everything right in the story. But there's an entire chapter in that second book on the facts that authenticate the Shroud, and that's why a former Benedictine monk actually he's written the foreword for that novel for me. Now, I got to tell you something, though. I had no intention of writing this book because the first two books that I self-published first, they didn't do too well. So what happened was that this former Benedictine monk sought in the internet, he looked for a book that was about extraterrestrials and spirituality, and he found the first book, The Disclosure Paradox, and he liked it. And then he friended me, and
It's football season, and you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a running back delivered, but you can get baby back ribs delivered. A strong defense? No. A strong deodorant? Yes. The six-pack of abs? Nope. Six-pack of beer? Yes. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Alcohol 21 plus and in select cities. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
He told me, what's missing from this book is the Shroud of Turin. And I didn't think much about it. And he started to send me documents, research papers from all over the world about the Shroud of Turin on every discipline: botany, forensics, hematology, archaeology, all of that. And it started to interest me because I was fascinated by all the things that was authenticating it. And so I decided to write an outline, gave it to him. He liked it. And then I wrote the manuscript 6 months after I wrote the outline, and I sent it to him, and he liked it to the point where he's actually written the foreword for it. And it was this book that actually got the attention of an editor and a publisher. And when they found out that I had two other books in the series that I self-published, they wanted to see those. They liked them. We reworked them, and that's why the first one was published again in February of this year. So this one is actually a third book, but it's actually a sequel to the second one. The second book was a prequel to the first one. So it kind of goes back to my, my hypothesis about the roles that we have, the people that we meet, the fate and destiny. There are so many things that had to happen for me to get to the point where I'm talking to you right now, that it's not coincidence. There was obviously a plan in place.
So, question for you: when it comes to the Shroud itself, do you believe that it is like legit? That it's actually
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Because I've always been kind of iffy. I haven't done a lot of research on that particular item, right?
Yeah.
Personally, I'm familiar with it to an extent, but I've also, in my conspiracy travels, right, I've always come across those guys who claim that the depiction of Jesus that we all know of, like what he looks like, is actually a depiction of Pope Alexander the Sixth's son. Right? Have you heard this before?
No.
So Pope Alexander the Sixth was known as like the father of Christianity, right, during the Roman Empire, and apparently his son is the image that we all see as Jesus, right? Okay. He used like his own son's likeness when they started like, printing these books, if you will, and like drawing all these depictions of Jesus back in the medieval times, right?
Those medieval times, he said? It was like in the 13th century?
Yeah, it's like 13th century or something like that. It's a few hundred years, or quite a long time, actually. It's like 1400 years after the time of Jesus. So
correct.
Now I know that there is like some forensic evidence and like carbon dating and things like that. Well, from what I understand, the carbon dating of the Shroud goes back to like 13 something.
Correct. Yeah, and I have an explanation on that.
Yeah, well, I don't trust carbon dating personally. I've talked about this on the show 1,000 times. I think carbon dating is a complete lie. So I don't really buy into that too much. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious on your, like where you fall on that,
Yeah. All right. So the Shroud has gone through 3 known identities. It was, well, first of all, it was the original linen that Jesus was wrapped in. Second, it became the image of Edessa. Third, it became the Mandylion. And fourth, finally, it was the Shroud. Okay, four different identities. Same thing. The image of Edessa, someone in around 530 AD took the linen, folded it, put it in like a pillowcase with a hole in it, and stored it. And that was the image of Edessa. Edessa actually is right now the city is called Ur. What happened was that this was because of Persian armies, because of Islamic invasions. This image, which was about Christ's face, actually, because they didn't know it was the body was in this image, they would protect it and take it to places where Christianity was prevalent. And in one place, it's called Ravenna in Italy. And in Ravenna, you have what's called, there are mosaics, and the style of the art is called Christ Pantocrator. And what that is it shows his face with the halo. And the face is exactly as the image on Shroud, complete with the trauma on the nose from the broken nose and, everything else. The artist actually literally took the hole in that linen and put it on that mosaic. And that's the first time that we see the halo. So the halo came from people seeing his face in that like case. So your point about the son of the Pope is flawed there, because his image actually appears in 530 AD in a mosaic in Ravenna. Now, regarding the carbon dating, the reason that the carbon dating was flawed, and there are many hypotheses. One was that they took a patch from the Middle Ages. One is that the area that they took was damaged from a fire. They took it from the very end of the cloth. Now, what causes that date is what caused the image of the Shroud, and that image was made from radiation, because the blood, if you look at the fibers on the linen, wherever there's blood, the fibers are saturated. But wherever the image appears, you only have the very edges of the fibers that are impacted. And the hypothesis is that the image was made like by a radiological event, and the radiation impacted the composition of the linen, thereby causing the false readings on the carbon dating. There is a nuclear scientist, his name is Robert Rucker, and he came up with the theory that if you took carbon dating from the shroud and you made a graph that would show the dates, he showed that if you took the carbon dating from the strongest point, which is his torso, the date of the linen would be in the 50th century AD. So that's called the absorption hypothesis.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I buy those explanations, and the one about the Pope's son. Honestly, I never really knew how to feel about that, although I thought that was an interesting theory that it was the Pope's son's depiction that is Jesus. But I'm not tied to it in any way, so I'm tracking with you.
I've never heard the thing about the Pope's son, and it might be the same guy, but I've heard something about like a Caesar Borgia.
Yeah, that's who that is.
It's the same guy.
Yeah, it's the same guy. So, yeah, I'm always the one that's quick to say that the elites will like invert or pervert information just to like throw the rest of us off. And that could very well be an example of that, where it wasn't really the depiction of his son that we all see as Jesus, but that they told us that it was the depiction of his son just to kind of, muddy the waters, if you will. So I'm with it.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the Shroud, to be honest with you, to even hold a candle in this conversation.
Yeah, I didn't want to derail it too much, but I was curious about your thoughts on that. But no, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. The one hypothesis I have about why the Vatican is not acknowledging the Shroud as authentic is actually there's a good reason for it, and there's two elements that contribute to that. The Vatican they want to protect the Shroud. They want to protect the Shroud from extremists who would be insulted by the Vatican saying that the Shroud is real and that there was a resurrection and that Jesus Christ was more than just a prophet. And then the other is that there are very wealthy people that have strong Christian background that would like to have that, and not only have it, but they would probably break it apart and sell it off to the highest bidders. So the Vatican is strong about that, and they maintain that there is no object that they will authenticate because it's about faith. It's not about proof. It's not about evidence, and that's the way they stand on it. But I feel that they're actually protecting the Shroud for those reasons.
I could see that, and my conspiracy brain also throws in that third option too. Like a lot of people will say that the Vatican is no longer what it used to be, right? There's bad actors now that run the Vatican, so there could be something there too, right? Like they just don't even want to go there because they know it's true. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I have a chapter where Robert Ladd has a meeting with the chief of staff of the Vatican, and they kind of share secrets, and the Vatican knows about the archons, but they don't know that, they call them the archons, and so Robert Ladd tells them what happened, how they were able to save the Shroud, and it's a very interesting chapter because the reader kind of gets an idea that these guys are actually hiding something from us, but then you get to understand why they are hiding for it. I mean, they have an office that is solely responsible for investigating, people that have had visions or visitations, claim to have, some sort of spiritual event happen to them, and they call that office the Office of Dicasteries. But the one thing that I've I've studied and researched is that they are very slow to authenticate those experiences, and that is to protect the people themselves rather than to hide the facts.
That makes sense. Yeah, Jeremy, you got to read David Icke's book, man, because he talks all about these archons, dude. Remember I was talking to you about the archons a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Right? So it's a whole thing, man. But yeah.
I think that the gargoyles that are shown on Gothic churches, I think those are depictions of the archons.
So a little off topic, but
yeah,
since your last book kind of delved into a lot of different stuff, and you're already at the Vatican, do you touch on the chronovisor at all?
The what journal?
The chronovisor, Father Arnetti's chronovisor.
I'm not familiar with that.
No, okay. We'll pass that. I was just curious. Do you go into the talk about the archives and everything?
Oh, the Vatican archives?
Yeah.
It's briefly mentioned in that one chapter where Robert and the Cardinal are talking and sharing secrets. Yeah.
Chronovisor is a legendary, supposedly non-existent device created by Italian physicist and Benedictine priest Father Pellegrino Ernetti, which was claimed to allow people to view past events like a time television by capturing residual electromagnetic echoes from space-time, while Ernetti claimed it showed historical moments like the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and was hidden in the Vatican. There is no specific evidence. Blah, 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 blah.
Wow,
it's said to be in it's said to be in the Vatican archives, and it literally supposedly just looks like a tablet, like a little electronic tablet that you can view any point in historical past. You can watch any event, and that you get a whole bunch of people that are coming out now that you have quantum physics right at the cusp of science, or at the frontier of science, and quantum entanglement really being looked at, and the true nature of that concept being discovered. They're saying that Father Arnetti's chronovisor could potentially have been a real thing if they had some sort of inside intel of how quantum entanglement worked.
Which they most certainly would have, right? Like the Vatican is one of the most powerful institutions in the world, right? So I would argue that just like we talk about the military industrial complex has technologies 30 years ahead of the public, I would argue the Vatican probably does too. So I could see that being
that's a good point.
Yeah, this book right here, it's shit paid over $100 for this stupid book. I say stupid book only because I paid over $100 for it. But it's a phenomenal book.
So are we talking, advanced technology, or did he actually invent that?
Well, it was, I don't want to get too far off track. I don't want to get too far off track. I can kind of fill you in off the bit.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm not taking away from your book, man. Okay. I just want to know if you touched on it or not. But you should definitely look into the chronovisor if it's something that you haven't in the past. And this book, if you're interested in it, it's by Peter Carassa. And the only place I could find it is on eBay.
Hey, well, your question, Paul, like, did he invent it or was it advanced technology? I mean, if, when you kind of understand how these archonic entities operate and how they utilize human beings for a lot of their, happenings in like 3D world, right? In our reality, then both of those things could be true, actually, right? He could have invented it, and also it's advanced technology, and also it's, given to him by archontic.
That's actually where that's where I kind of came up with the idea to ask the question, was because of the archons and the Vatican, and I was like, oh man, this kind of sounds like a like there's a tie into the chronovisor here. And I was debating on whether or not I wanted to ask you it, because I didn't want to like to kill any spoilers or anything, but here I'll just for shits and giggles, I just want to show.
There's a million things we could go on about the Vatican, man. I mean, like, let's be real. It's a spooky place, right? Like all the stuff that they got going on, and the Lucifer telescope and all these types of things. So you could go on for hours about the Vatican, but
look, it's legitimately over $100 book.
My goodness.
Like, there's only one on eBay right now. It's $150.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's silly.
Anyways, carry on, Paul, with the story. We both just totally derailed you. So
sorry, man.
Welcome to Infinite Rabbit Hole.
He's used to it. We did it.
That's literally getting into the rabbit hole, isn't it?
We did it to him in February too.
Yeah. Shall I explain to you a little bit about the image itself and what it would take to actually...
Every sip of Coca-Cola brings you closer to the excitement of the FIFA World Cup 26. Because nothing compares to the joy. So grab a Coke and drink in the FIFA World Cup 26. No purchase necessary. 13 plus in 50 U.S. states and D.C. with a web-enabled device. Ends March 1st with 8 entry periods. Rules at cokeurl.com/soccerrules.
Año nuevo. Los mismos Extra Value Meals en McDonald's. Ahora te puedes llevar 2 snack wraps y papitas y una bebida mediana por solo $8. Solo por tiempo limitado. Precios y participación pueden variar. Los precios pueden ser más altos en Hawaii, Alaska y California y con entrega.
Like, copy
Paul,
it.
This is your show, man. You do whatever you want. This is your show. If you want to talk about the Shroud, you talk about the Shroud. You want to talk about your book, you talk about your book. Whatever you want to do, man. You're the guest.
This is the chapter that got the attention of the his name is Joe Marino. He's written nine books on the Shroud. He's the president of the Shroud Education and Research Association. He's got a website. He is very well known in the circles in Catholicism and in the Shroud enthusiasts. And I'm very fortunate that he actually endorsed my novel. The one thing is that in 2011, the Italian National Agency for New Technologies hypothesized that the conception of a mechanism to simulate the process done to make the image on the Shroud. And they concluded that it required a high number of individually calibrated micro lasers to make the three-dimensional image, because that's what you have. You have a three-dimensional image of a person. The amount of energy to power those lasers will be equivalent to 34 trillion watts applied at 1/40,000th of a second to preclude damage from excessive heat. We don't have that technology. Our strongest laser is 8 billion watts. So you have to understand that there's something otherworldly about this relic.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a good mystery. It's one of the few rabbit holes I haven't really gone down, so I don't have really much to stand on here with you. There's things in the Vatican that I have looked into, obviously, chronovisor being one of them. The Shroud is, unfortunately, it's just not one of them, man. I don't really have much to speak on with it.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
pretty amazing that a lot of lay people really don't understand just all of the facts about the shroud. That they've identified 58 pollen that are from the Middle East and Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul. There is a pollen that appears where the head is, and it's called Gundelia. And if you look up Gundelia, it's a thorn bush in the Middle East, and the thorns were used to make his crown of thorns. And there it is. You can see all of the marks on his back are from a tool that the Romans used called a flagellum. And what it is, there were 3 lead balls that were attached to leather straps on a stick, and they would use that to whip the victim. And you could tell that there were 2 people that were applying that force on his back and on the back of his legs and his glutes. And then, when they show the crucifixion, they show that the nails go through his hands, but that's not the case. If you look at his wrist, they actually nailed his wrist, and you could see the blood stain on his wrist.
And the ankles as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a coroner from Los Angeles that wrote an entire essay where he did a report on the victim on the shroud, and he was actually able to recognize that the bloodstains on his arms are from a victim that was suspended with his arms at 65 degrees, and that the blood trickled down the arms.
So, is it possible that the shroud is of somebody else who was crucified at around the same time?
Well, there's an awful lot of testimony about Jesus's walk with the cross. If one of the things that the coroners found is that on his shoulder there are marks, rubbing marks that appear to be coming from a very heavy object bearing on his shoulders, and they crucified him with nails. The other 2 people, the thieves, were not nailed to the cross. They were roped on the cross. He was the only one that they nailed.
Was crucifixion, I don't know enough about this personally, but was crucifixion like a common practice in that time, like for criminals, or and was nailing them to the cross? Was Jesus like the only one, or was that like a rare exception? Like, were most people tied to the cross, and did nobody else carry their own cross to the location? Was that like strictly Jesus?
Right. They treated him that way because he was saying that he was the Son of God. So they made him do things that were inhuman, and they treated him as someone beyond human.
So he got like the worst of it, worse than just like your run of the mill. I got you. Right. Okay.
Now,
fair enough.
Let me preface this, guys. I'm not Catholic. I'm not Christian. I am spiritualist, but so I don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God. I believe that he was the son of somebody, and I believe that he was sent for a reason that was different than what the Catholics say he was. And I also feel that he was put to death for a certain reason beyond what they say too. So I want to make it clear that I'm not pontificating here about the actual faith. I'm just presenting evidence and getting people to think about this person that was crucified, that going not exactly in the steps that the Catholics and the Christians would want us to.
Fair enough.
Thinking outside the box.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I can appreciate that thought, actually.
Because they won't listen to me. I feel that Jesus was actually a result of artificial insemination. And that, when he was crying out to his Father, he was crying out to somebody, obviously, that was high in a hierarchy of the entities that he was a part of. And I feel that the shroud is actually part of the reason that he died. That for us to, kind of leaving a signature for us. And I feel that in the future, what if we were able to harvest his DNA and use it to repair our own DNA, which I say is flawed in my first book? That's the link there too.
That's an interesting thought too, because, I'm not necessarily a religious person myself. But what you just said there is kind of like an alternative theory, I guess, or prophecy, but still could line up with the actual prophecy, right? Like this being was here and he was here to save us. And if that's how it's done, right?
Exactly.
Via DNA and all that, then like the end goal still happens. It just doesn't happen quite the way that people have kind of thought it was going to happen for the last 2,000 years.
Now here's a couple of facts. All right, here's a couple of facts. One is that I learned that there are 376 verses in the New Testament that mention his blood. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that's an accident. I think there's something to it. I think there was something to emphasize there. And when he said that his blood will wash away the sins of the earth, I took that literally. I didn't take that as a metaphor. I actually think that he did intend to leave his DNA so that we could repair our own DNA.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought for sure. Interesting. Yeah, that's going to make some religious people a little upset to hear. There's some in the chat already that are like, "Oh, heathen," right? But it's like, chill out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
It's probably
to be in circles and say that Jesus was not the Son of God. You really get a lot of pushback from that.
It's probably good that we have Jeff here today, not Jake. To be honest, that's I mean, I don't have any room to stand here, man. I don't know much about these topics, but it's definitely an interesting take. It's a take that I haven't heard before, which is something that I like to hear. Right, I like to hear these point of views.
Right.
Extraterrestrial Jesus is not something that I thought I was going to be listening to today. That's new. That is definitely new. Definitely something that I wasn't expecting.
I've heard lots of variations of that, right? Extraterrestrial Jesus, if you will. Like I've heard other theories and things along those lines, but bringing it like into our future, like you're talking about, where like harvesting that DNA from the shroud and using that DNA to repair our DNA, right? To save us.
Right.
That's something I haven't heard before. That's interesting.
That is interesting. That is interesting. And I think you touched on something that I've heard before that makes sense, right? The shroud definitely has the imagery of the outline of a human on it, right? there's a
it's more than the outline. It's got the entire thing. Yeah,
it's got the anatomy, right?
His wounds,
everything.
Yeah.
And the best way for that to imprint itself onto fabric, right, is going to be with beta particles, or not beta particles, but gamma rays.
Gamma particles, gamma rays. Yeah.
It's going to be gamma rays, because alpha beta particles wouldn't do that. It'd have to be gamma rays. So it has to be radiation, and it has to be gamma rays.
Yep. Do you remember? I don't know if you know it, but in the Bible, when he is resurrected and he goes in and he speaks to Mary and he speaks to Mary Magdalene when they're outside of the tomb, he tells them, and he's glowing, and he tells them, "Do not touch me." Do you remember that? It's in the New Testament. So there's something about that. There's something about that radiation theory.
Sorry, I'm just taking a note here.
Yeah. When he was...
Go ahead.
When
speak through.
I feel that the word God has been probably bastardized over time. I feel. I think, when they say the word God in the Old Testament and New Testament, what if actually it refers to a rank rather than the supreme being? What if we are misinterpreting what they're saying about using that word? That's what I feel, because as I mentioned in the first book, I saw what God is in that meditation, where it is an energy made of all of the energies between our lives. And, when the Bible says that God is within us, God is around us, that's a perfect explanation, where it's in another realm and it's pure energy. If you pray to energy, you're not going to get anything out of it. So prayer doesn't really work for that. And it's nothing more than a creative energy, because thought is what that source is about, and thought creates. So those are my thoughts about the interpretations of classic religions. I feel that the greatest failure in human religions and theology is trying to explain something using only the knowledge that we have as humans. It's like using 8 crayons to color your coloring book. We're missing information about actually explaining what God is about, and I feel that seeing that meditation that I described in the first book probably is a piece of that puzzle. You're mute again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to answer questions on the TikTok chat too, that don't show up here. So I'm trying to keep them updated as well.
Are there hostile people there?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Surprisingly, I get chewed out on TikTok every time I go live on TikTok, so I don't do it anymore. We do have a few people in the Twitch chat that are a little, I wouldn't say perturbed, but, like you said, when you talk about these types of things, people who are strong in their faith, they get a little uncomfortable or angry to some extent. Yeah. And listen, that's a fair, just for the people in the chat, like that's fair, right? Like whatever, but nobody here is like telling you what to believe. Nobody here is challenging your faith or anything like that. This is a podcast about fringe topics, and this is a fringe topic. So, just take it with a grain of salt. And if you're like a hardcore believer in whatever faith you follow, like, great, good. Like this doesn't have to like compete with that or like anything like that. So I just want to say that for the people in the chat who are a little bit uncomfortable with this conversation,
Yeah,
and one thing that transcends all religions is the reason that we are here. And we are here to make life better for others instead of making life better for ourselves at the expense of others. If we just did that, we would improve spiritually. And, it's our spirituality that's prevented us from being part of the rest of the universal community. So if we just follow that, which is actually just another set of words that Jesus actually spoke of in the New Testament, we would be able to really improve our spirituality to get us to the point where we could actually join with the rest of the universe.
It's definitely it's definitely a unique point, right? It's just to kind of piggyback off of what Jeff was saying, right? People are going to listen to this. This is definitely going to be probably one of the more controversial topics that we brought up on the show. Well, I mean, we've been having a good string of them. Like last week, we had a woman on who brought up some really dark stuff, right? It was very good. It was a very good story, but it was really dark, very, very dark. And it had to deal with a lot of the underground dark side of celebrity life.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. And now we've kind of went to the other side of the spectrum, right? Where now instead of where we went from the entertainment business down to spirituality, and we went from the occult and the entertainment side to spirituality and extraterrestrials, and it's flipping them on their heads here. There's going to be some resistance, right? But like Jeff was saying, we have this podcast where we talk about fringe topics, and we're going Spectrum Assassin. He said, "Hey, I said Spectrum. I did that for you, bud." People are going to get upset. It's okay. Right.
Wait till next week. Next week, you're going to get even more upset, dude, when we get into astrotheology. That's going to piss you guys off. So sit tight.
Yeah, we got another good one next week. It's going to be great. Yep. But it's normal, Paul. Just roll, man. I mean, a lot of times controversy brings people, right? People want to be around the controversy. If you have an interesting topic to talk about it. And this is an interesting topic. It's going to piss people off. It's okay, right?
Yeah. I can tell you that the greatest pushback that I get on both books, well, the first one more, are from atheists, because they don't accept the spiritual part of our existence. They don't want to hear about it. If you don't have proof, and there's no way that I could offer proof about what I had in meditation or my experiences, they won't listen to you. So I get more support from people that have a religion, because we align as far as understanding that there is something beyond what we can see, and there's something beyond that guides us, and that there are greater roles to play than just our life, our work habits, or whatever we have that keeps us going, as far as just having a source of income. There's much more than that.
I don't want to push this along or something, anything like that, but I am also interested in kind of getting into, because at the very beginning you talked about the plot of the book, there being something about they were using the facilities in Dulce to harvest our DNA to try to find this this love gene or whatever, right? And
Correct.
unable to do it.
Right.
Could you maybe get into that a little bit and how that kind of ties into the shroud and stuff, just in case anybody missed the very beginning?
So in the first book, Mary Ellen goes to Dulce because she recognizes that her son is one of the abductees, and he's in one of the tubes. So she comes up with a plot to get people to go over there. She finds Katrina, who has psychokinetic powers. She gets Robert Ladd, who is a ranger, and they are able to rescue not only her son, but her and 20 other victims that were in those tubes in the laboratory. And with her help from the Arcturians, who she has a connection with, they essentially beam up all of the individuals back to their planet to repair their DNA, because they've been trying to convert them into super soldiers, or doing things that are inhuman. So as I mentioned, one of her one of those specimens was her son, and in the second book, we find out that they contact her and he's ready to be returned because they repaired his DNA. So he has memory. He has memory, but it's in his subconsciousness. He has memory about being in the tube and seeing and also hearing and feeling the intent of his captors. And with those clues, they figure out what was going on in that laboratory. And at the same time, Mary Ellen, who is the mother, and she's a spiritual psychic, she's watching TV, and she sees something about the release of the Shroud of Turin, because it's near Mardi Gras. So the news is talking about that, the Vatican is going to release the Shroud of Turin for people to see in public, and it's be a great event. So she goes into meditation, and she's allowed to see the shroud in her meditation. And then she focuses and she sees the blood, and then it gets closer and magnified, and she sees the chromosomes, and then finally the DNA. And then she's brought back, and she doesn't know why she's allowed to see that. So that's part of the puzzle of the plot. And you combine that with her taking her son and going to regressive therapy and learning about what happened while he was in captivity. And he tells them that his captors were frustrated, not finding what they were looking for, and just giving up on the test. And that gets us closer to understanding why the shroud is coveted, and why Blue is the son, why Blue has this role to play in the plot. So that's how I tie in the first one with the second one.
It's pretty interesting stuff, man. It's they like you said, they're two completely different books, but I can see where the connection's at, man.
Oh yeah, strong connection.
Yeah, no, it is very interesting. I have the first one. I haven't read it yet. I know I told you I was going to. I haven't had a chance to get through it yet. A lot of things came up, but I do have it. I'm gonna get the second one too. Don't worry. But I had somebody on TikTok that just recommended a book, and I just went and bought that one too. It's called God, Man, the Word Made Flesh. And actually, Jeff, this looks like it might fit really well into next week's topic with Micah Dink.
What is it called?
Word Made Flesh.
Word Made Flesh. Yeah.
Our God, Man, the Word Made Flesh by George W. Carey. It looks like it looks like it has an astrology wheel on the cover.
Oh yeah, that'll fit next week for sure.
Yeah. The guy that we have next week, Paul, is what is he, like an astrotheologist?
He's like one of the biggest astrotheologists. So his whole thing is that he basically he's, let's just use the word, decoded not just the Bible but the Quran and the Torah and all these religious texts, and he's like found correlations with astrology, if you will, right? And not like the astrology where you just go and like, what's my daily horoscope, but like real like ancient astrology. And he brings up a lot of connections where, like, I mean, just like a simple example would be, that he rose after 3 days, right? Well, like then he'll bring up the situation. Well, hey, look, at winter solstice, the sun hits the lowest point and it stays at the lowest point in the sky for 3 days until it starts rising again higher into the sky. So it's just one very basic example, but he goes really deep into like the names of things and, all of the kind of like cryptic messages that are in theology and how that ties to theism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Micah's a good
but it's going to piss off a lot of religious folks because he's pretty hardcore about it too. He'll go on a whole long thing that's like mind blowing, and then he'll look at the camera and be like, "Do you still believe your book?" Like he's kind of abrasive about it, but what are you going to do?
Yeah,
he's a
I just
personality.
want people to stay curious, to think outside the box, to ponder beyond what they've been indoctrinated in. That's all.
Yeah, no, I'm with that 100%. And I'm not one to like shit on anybody's religion or anything like that. I'm not necessarily a religious person, but and I respect people's beliefs. But I'm the same as you, right? Like I want people to kind of think outside the box a little bit and consider the possibility that, hey, that book, whatever book you follow, might not have all the information, right? Like there's things that have either been tampered with or left out or just misunderstood over time, mistranslated over time. Like things might not be quite what you think they are based off of those books, so.
Correct.
I've been hearing, just since we're on the topic, man, there's been a lot of stuff that I've been hearing lately about like the Book of Enoch. It makes me wish I knew more about it, but I've been hearing a ton of stuff about it that's make me really want to dive into it.
Fucking buy it and read it, Mr. Bookman.
Yeah, but I don't know anything else like
there's also
Book of Enoch or anything, man.
There's also a book that was redacted that I was made note of, and that's the Book of Thomas. And apparently that is about Thomas's conversation with Jesus after resurrection and certain things that Jesus told him that are not aligned with conventional religion, which is that there is no heaven, there is no God, and that we are more spiritual than we realize, things like that. But it was tossed out for a number of reasons. One had to do with the quality of the words. The other is that it was written 100 years after the supposed conversation. So that doesn't sit well with people. But, the books of John and Mark were written like 88 years after Jesus was crucified. So there's, we'll never, I think, know the truth, the actual accuracy of what happened. I think it's all based on whoever has control over those words.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, we all know this, right? Listen, the events happened so long ago, and since then there's been so many kings and queens and popes and rulers and a lot of information, whether you're talking about the Bible or not, just information in general, especially in those times, was most definitely manipulated to control people or rile people up and get them to go and fight, right? And like all these types of things. So is it possible that religious texts were also tampered with in the same way at the same time? I don't see why not, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, they were, but like, you'd be hard pressed to convince me that they weren't, right? So,
agree.
Yeah, I don't, man, I wish I had. So again, this is just coming from things I heard, right? But like the King James, didn't he write his version because he wanted to remarry or something? And he had to alter something in the text to say that it was okay.
Sure.
Who knows, right? Who knows? Yeah, that's the whole thing, right? Like none of us were in the rooms back then. None of us were in the secret rooms where they were trying to figure out like, hey, how are we going to print this? Because, all these books, and again, I'm not talking about just the Bible, right? Like any religious text or any text period back in those days before the printing press came out, who knows what they were kind of like propagating as far as like to the people. And then when the printing press did come out, there were some serious conversations in some back rooms that were like, what do we print?
Yeah.
And how do we print them to distribute them?
It would be pretty interesting to, it would be extremely interesting. Like if somebody were to get a hold of a real time machine, right? And go back and grab one artifact to grab one of the original Bibles and compare it to what we have now.
Well, people looked all over the world for all that stuff, man. I mean, like, people don't like to hear this, but like, dude, what do you think the Nazis were doing? They were all over the world looking for shit. They were going to ancient sites. They were going to Tibet. They were going to all these places, and they were looking for stuff. And they probably found some stuff too, because those guys were assholes, man. They, you know what I'm saying? Who knows what's in a vault somewhere? We don't know. We have no idea.
Well, you heard about the Vedas, right? The Hindu Vedas.
The Hindu Vedas,
they started out as just stories that people would pass down verbally without writing it down, and this was for generations. And then finally, someone decided, hey, we need to write this stuff down. So think about the difference between what is in the writing and what was the original story. That's.
I mean, you're playing telephone at that point.
I was just gonna say it's the telephone game, right? You can't even go like they've done experiments on this. You can't go around a circle of 20 people and keep the story straight. So how are you going to go through a story of 20 generations,
right,
and keep the story like perfect? Now they probably did a really good job because they did use, and Michael will talk about this next week. They did use like the stars and things like that to like keep these stories pretty dialed in. But yeah, I mean, and listen, there's cultures around the world right now that they still don't write down their religious texts because they think that it's like an abomination of some kind, right? Like you cannot write these things down because once you write them down, like it changes the essence of what the thing is. So, how much of that happened, right? How accurate is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Yeah.
All right, Paul, what else you got for us, man? We're about an hour and 20 minutes in now.
All right. So if you're looking for quality of writing, I got it for you because the first book has a 4.73 rating on Goodreads. That's pretty high.
Very good.
Hell with over 48 reviews. And I keep getting 5 stars from people that read it. But I feel the second one's even better. And
Very good.
The second one is not as it doesn't have as much of the UFO and meditation stuff as the first one. Still does, but I see a question there. What does Paul think the oldest Bible is? Wow. There is a museum in DC. It's called the Museum of the Bible, and I was there, and you have to be there for a long, long time. There's just an entire floor where they explain the origins of the Bible, and they have the versions there. Jeff, you were mentioning, King James and all of the versions. They have all the versions there, and they explain the edits that were done in those versions. If you have the time and you have the attention span to look at that, it's all there. It doesn't matter what I think about was the oldest. The proof is there. I will say though that I think the Old Testament, which is shared by the Jews and the Muslims, is interesting because I think if you read a lot of the Old Testament as a historic book, you will find a lot of interesting pieces to a puzzle that explains a lot about what they interpreted as God and they interpreted as angels and things like that, where I think that there's a lot of high technology there that is being misinterpreted by unsophisticated shepherds.
Yeah. I just kind of Googled it, right, for whatever that's worth. The Codex Sinaiticus is considered one of the oldest complete Bibles in the world, 4th century Greek manuscript. Then you have like fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I know that like there's Ethiopian versions of the Bible that go way, way back too, right? So, it's always been my understanding, and I might be way off on this, I don't know, but it's always been my understanding that like the individual books of the Bible, if you went way back, certain tribes or certain families or whatever, like those were the books that they followed.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
Until somebody, right, some church and state conglomerate came together and brought those separate pieces together and created this one Bible, right? But you go back far enough, it was like, hey, this tribe followed, the book of John, right? Like this tribe followed this, right? And there were some people who followed multiple, but it wasn't like one big thing until institutions came and were like, hey, let's put this together. And
yeah. Yeah, I find it interesting. I'm reading a book right now by Philip Kinsella. He's a UFO researcher, author in UK, and his book, I think, Avatar. I forget what the title is, but it's like a Reader's Digest for people who don't know or haven't looked up things about, for instance, Zachariah Stitchin, or the Anunnaki, or the Nephilim, or Nibiru. It's really a great compilation and explains thoroughly about that mythology.
Yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole in itself, man. I love that stuff, dude. Zachariah Sitchin's Sumerian tablet decoding is dude, there was like 5 years of my life where I was like obsessed with the Anunnaki and all that stuff, dude. That shit's crazy.
Yeah.
So what's the name of your new book?
The new book, The Disclosure Paradox, Book 2, Salvation. There's salvation on a lot of levels there. I also write about social voice. Like the first one, I have a Hikura Apache woman, I have a gay black veteran female sergeant who was in the military police. I have a autistic woman, and so I make sure that I'm diverse in that first book. The second book, I touch upon the issue of the children being abused in the Catholic Church, because the main character, well, not the main character, the antagonist, who teams up with the reptilians to get the shroud, it's a revenge against the church because of what happened to him when he was an acolyte. So he turns out to be the chief of Interpol Vatican. Did you know that the Vatican has their own Interpol?
Yeah, I did know that.
Yeah. So he's the one that is the insider that gets involved with the reptilians to steal the shroud, and it's because of what happened to him as a child that he does this. So I kind of explained that part and how it impacted him.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, listen, man, we could probably talk for hours, honestly, about all this stuff and like go down all these different rabbit holes on some of this stuff. I know like the books themselves are, like you said, it's like science fiction, right? But the concepts and stuff that are in there, like I think are true, at least to some extent from what I know, right? Like, again, I don't know everything about the shroud or what have you, but all the things that you touch on, or at least have in this episode, like I'm tracking, right? I could get in there with you and we could definitely have a long conversation about all that stuff for sure. Unfortunately, there's not enough time in one night to like, go down each rabbit hole, but
that's what he does, man. He did that in February too. He gave us this mosh pit of topics, and I think we got through 2 or 3 of them. When we look back, it was 2 hours into the episode. We're like, crap, man, we got to go.
That's how you know it's a good episode. Right before you said it was like an hour and 20 minutes, like I looked up and it was like an hour and 16 minutes. And I was like, damn, dude, like that's how I know it's a good episode, when an hour plus goes by and like you have no idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes Jeremy will make me sit here and listen to Bigfoot stuff for 2 hours. And I'm like,
we haven't done a Bigfoot episode in a while.
So you could tell your audience that I have a website. It's the disclosureparadox.com. In there, they could actually read about both books. There are excerpts for the first book. There are reviews that I have right now in there. There and the character descriptions. But for the second book, I have Joseph Marino's forward. And I have a couple reviews that are pre-publication reviews in there, and I'll be adding some more stuff in there as we go along. And in this second one, it could be pre-ordered so that it arrives when its release, which is the 16th of September. And it's doing pretty well right now in pre-orders. I'm pretty happy about it. So it's good.
Well, it's always good to have you on, man. So when you come up with the next one and Bigfoot joins the mix and you got a whole bunch of other things that we can force Jeff into that he's not interested in, but I am, let's do that so that he can sit there and look all bored. And then I can.
Yeah, the next one will be about the origins of Katrina, who is psychokinetic, and her father, who was one of the Army privates that was recovering the debris from the Roswell crash.
Okay.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah. Hey, that's a pretty good one, man. There's a lot to go on with the Roswell crash.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
Yep.
We could dive into that quite a bit too. We could dive into that. We could dive into the nuclear testing that was happening, or the atom bomb testing that was happening at the time.
See, he said the origins of Katrina, and right there I was like, "Oh, the hurricane," and I was
that's where I went to. That's where I went to. That's where I was too.
Some weather modification. I was like, "Yeah, dude, let's go."
Yeah, but then you talked about Roswell.
One of the characters
way before that.
Yeah, no, I got that when you finished the sentence, but I jumped the gun in my mind. I was like, "Oh, origins of Katrina. We're going to talk about chemtrails and weather modification."
But no, absolutely. Well, Paul, you put out your website. Do you have anything else to put out? Do you have socials or anything else that you want to plug before we shut her off for the night?
Yeah, I have nothing else going on. I'll be doing local book signings. Hopefully, if the second book comes out, strong, I'll certainly be around the country.
All right. Well, I want to give a special shout out to the stupendous man over on TikTok. Sat there and gave us 5,000 likes.
Oh wow, that's great.
So, really appreciate that. We got a couple people to share. I mean, all kinds of
TikTok's jumping, bro. You got to get that damn stream key so they can see the whole episode, not just look at you the whole time.
I don't know how to do the stream key thing. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. All right. We got a couple followers today. Number one, Megumi Glazer followed us. We hit 70 followers on Twitch tonight.
Wow.
So that's
really
cool.
good.
We got that. That's another milestone. So thank you all for that. A lot of cool milestones today, everybody.
Yeah, I'm on Blue Sky as a PGV author, and then I'm on Facebook. I Paul Vecchiet, writer. And I've got like 4,200 followers on Blue Sky, which is pretty good.
Nice, man. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, make sure you share the episode when it comes out, man.
Yeah, I will. So
looks like Danny just joined the chat. Danny. Better late than never. Danny's always a good guy. Danny loves our authors. Danny will probably check out your stuff. He's a true listener, true fan of books. But we are now at an hour and 35 minutes in.
Yep.
We've been streaming all over the internet, everywhere. Thank you to everybody that's taking the time to tune in. Thank you to everybody on TikTok. Thank you to everybody on Twitch. Thank you to everybody on YouTube, X, everywhere else that we've been streaming. This has been We didn't get a ton of people on Twitch today, but we had a ton of people everywhere else. Let me tell you.
Good.
And Paul, thank you again. It's always a pleasure, man. We look forward to having you back on for
What Doesn't Kill Her?
I'll have to get post the links for his stuff in the chat. Oh, let me do that real quick.
Okay. Yeah, and Paul, maybe you can come on like after the book comes out, like excuse me, like a couple weeks or something after the book comes out. We can get a little more in depth. I don't want you to like spoil the book on the show before it comes out, right? But like maybe once it comes out and it's been out for a little while, you come back on and we can go a little bit further down this one before talking about the next one that you got coming out too. That'd be cool.
All right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's the pre-order on Amazon right now. I got you can see it. It's on the pre-order. Here's I'll put this here. Here is, if you're on Twitch, there is the link to the first book.
Shout out to whoever just boosted the Twitch channel too. I see that.
Boosted the Twitch channel.
Yeah, there's like a little boost thing that people can do, and they did it.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Whoever did that. And then here is the link to the second book that you can pre-order.
Right.
All right.
There you go. That'll get you a couple sales.
For sure. And then we'll, like I did the first time, I will post the links with the episodes once they come out, which I believe this one will come out on the 8th. I'm pretty sure will come out on the 8th. But, all right. That's it. This one's for real now. Now that I got all your links out, Paul. If you can hang tight for just a few minutes after I sign off, that way I can have Riverside pull all your audio and video, and then we'll cut you loose. All right, man?
Sure.
All right.
I'm
Until
good.
next time, travelers, remember next Sunday, every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Time, that's 9 Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific, you can be right on twitch.tv/Infinite Rabbit Hole, where you can see myself, my co-host Jeff, and our guest for the night, if we have one, which next week we will have Micah Dank talking about his studies in astrotheology. It's quite a long presentation, but we're here for it, and it's going to be a blast. I've heard good things about this. Jeff's already kind of got a peek underneath the curtains. He's seen this once before, if not 5-7 times before. And he says good things about it, so I'm looking forward to it. Until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everybody.
Peace.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Goodbye.